want to welcome in Tom Murphy to the program this morning. Tom, Sam Pittman told the Arkansas media yesterday that practices have been good. The team responded really well. When you look at Arkansas and you look at Ole Miss and the losses they suffered this weekend, which do you think was tougher on their head coach? Was it Sam Pittman losing to his former mentor, or was it Lane Kiffin losing to Nick Saban in the form of fashion the Rebs did?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. They were both tough losses because both of those teams thought, we've done enough this season. We feel like we can at least compete and have a chance on the road. And I don't know how you gauge which was tougher, but when you get shut out and you kind of get shown what Sam Pittman himself called bully ball, that one was probably a little bit tougher. And Ole Miss wound up scoring, and Lane Kiffin just kind of went with his analytics and his gut and missed on some fourth downs that kind of created the scoring bench for Alabama in the first half. But I would just say that about the reaction to the loss at Georgia for Sam Pittman and his team was that they've owned it, and Sam Pittman said, we just weren't ready for that stage, the 93,000, the game day, all the hype. And I felt like the crowd might affect them some, but not to the degree that it did.
Tom, you brought up Lane Kiffin's mannerisms going for it on fourth down. He did that a good chunk last year against the Razorbacks. Several times he could have settled for field goals, including the opening drive, which they lost, and Jalen Catalon got that fumble recovery. Do you see Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss changing their identity, not just based on last week what happened against Alabama, but particularly last year what happened against Arkansas when it comes to going forward and risking it on fourth down?
No, I do not see him changing his identity, and it wouldn't shock me that after they pass their own 40 that they go on a good number of the fourth downs, the ones that are manageable. But yeah, you can look back at last year's game and say, wow, if Ole Miss, converts on that first drive, maybe throws one less pick or something, or converts the first drive in the second half when they got down to the one, and I think Greg Brooks and somebody combined to stop a running back. I think it was Snoop Connor on fourth and goal. It could have been a different outcome, but I think that game was a marker for Arkansas football in terms of how physical they could be. Kind of withstanding somebody's good shot, because Ole Miss ran the ball on them very well. Mm-hmm. But it also kind of put out there this drop 8 deal, which they had already shown in the Mississippi State game. But Matt Corral just wasn't looking in the right places, and they read his eyes, and he looked down at his intended targets, and they picked him 6 times. Yeah. So I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to change. They're already 14 for 19 on fourth downs, and I feel like they're going to be just as aggressive in this game.
But they have been very balanced. They played one less game, so their stats can be a little deceiving on totals, but their averages are 243 a game on the ground and 305 through the air. But Arkansas showed, the propensity to give up yards between the tackles as Georgia just ran it right at them. So I kind of wonder, Tom, which Ole Miss offense are we going to see? Is it going to be balanced, or do they kind of take a page out of Georgia and try to test Arkansas if they only have 3 down linemen? Do they try to run it at Arkansas early and see what adjustments Odom might make?
Exactly, and I do believe balance will be what they shoot for. And if they can control the game running the ball, I think they'll do that. As I said, they ran it well last year. They were leading the country in total offense before Bama got hold of them. I remember watching that Louisville game, and it was just play after play of receivers catching the ball in space and making long gains. And Arkansas did a pretty good job of limiting that last year. But they've got to stop the run better. And obviously Ole Miss doesn't have the hosses on their front to push Arkansas around the way Georgia did. And I think, conversely, the Razorbacks want to beef up and try to match the ball on Ole Miss, and they'll settle for a strong game if it moves the chains and gets them points. I think they'll do that.
Yeah. The chess match in this game is Ole Miss offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, who is Kendall Briles' brother-in-law, against Barry Odom. I know a lot of people are going to pay attention to Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman, but that's the real chess match here. There's a lot of similarities between Briles and his philosophies and what Lebby wants to do. They have learned out of the same playbook about what they want to be offensively. Does that help Barry Odom maybe understand what to do and how to make the adjustments? Is that an edge? Who does that favor in this ball game, since both offensive coordinators share a lot of tendencies, Tom?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I've asked that of the coaches. Lane, dismissed it yesterday, saying they neutralize each other out. But the compelling part to me is Ole Miss understands how frustrated their offense was at Arkansas last year. So they're going to try to have the answers to the 8-man coverage. And I don't know what it's going to consist of, but the countermeasures that Barry Odom and the defense take are what's going to be interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if Ole Miss floods zones or I don't somehow try to confuses the guys on who's in what section of the zone, then and Ole Miss starts getting big plays, what will Arkansas do? They're going to try to mix things up, which I guess means run a little bit of man, bring different types of pressures on Matt Corral. But I don't know. This is going to be a fun game. And I know Auburn and Georgia is going to draw a lot of attention on Saturday. But to me, this is just another great top 20 matchup. And it could be the winner of this is the team that is in best position to challenge Alabama for the top.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems pretty simple to me as far as Arkansas's defense and how effective they are. If you don't get pressure on Corral and you don't flush him and get him uneasy and hurried, then you're in trouble. So, I mean, what you do schematically is all a function of how much pressure you get with 3 or whether you change to 4 at some point or whether you blitz more. But it's still Arkansas failed to get pressure and force anything, for Georgia because their offensive line, how much pressure you can create up front.
Yeah, and they have to be sound in their rush lanes too because Corral is fast enough. I mean, he scored 6 rushing touchdowns this year, which is tied for the SEC lead. So he's fast, and in a spot he might be able to outrun your defensive end or linebacker. So they're just a very difficult defense. I mean, Alabama did well last week, but Corral did not throw a pick. He'll come into this game with 180 passes without an interception, and they're just going to be a tough nut to crack on trying to keep the scoreboard tamp down a little bit. So Barry Odom's drawn a lot of praise across the country for the scheming they've done and, using your personnel to the best advantage. And this game to me will be as challenging. Well, Georgia was very challenging, but I think Ole Miss is going to challenge them in all different ways from between the tackles runs, edge runs, the RPOs, and even some downfield shots.
Tom, I think you'd have a really good perspective on something we were kicking around last segment. When you think of the lesser SEC venues in college football, the Vanderbilt, where they play in Vanderbilt Stadium in Nashville, has to be at 14th. But where does Vaught Hemingway in terms of in-game atmosphere, not pre-game festivities, all that jazz, but when you're just talking about in-game atmosphere, loud fans, is it near the bottom of the list based on your experience?
Well, that's a function to me of crowd capacity, and because they rank down, I'm not sure what their rank is, but it's probably 12th or 13th, I guess. I don't know what Kentucky's gotten to, but I think with their 65,000, it would be one of the lower ones. But it gets loud there, just like it gets loud anywhere that's almost filled to capacity. And honestly, the pregame Georgia music was unbelievably uncomfortable. It was so loud. It doesn't have to be played that loud. Okay, here I go. And I thought Auburn had the most ear-splitting, in-house sound system a couple years ago, but Georgia last week was louder. There's no call for the music to be played that loud where you can't even talk here without. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I was Tom. I was right near the speakers at some point, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Tom, a place that is going to be loud and rocking this year is Bud Walton Arena. Eric Musselman put out yesterday there are less than 300 season tickets remaining from fans about what Eric Musselman this team have in 2021?
Yeah, super excited and a lot of momentum. Huge roster shift. So they've got to mesh those pieces the best they can. But based on what we know of Eric Musselman and strategizing and game planning, I think they'll be fine. And there's a lot going on in Arkansas right now. The golf team swept everything yesterday. Admittedly, it was their home course and everything, but they crushed the fields at the Blessing yesterday. And basketball, it's no surprise. If you build a program, the fans will come at Walton Arena. It's been proven, and there was a lull for ought to be a major postseason force, and now they're back in that state, and Razorback fans love their basketball, and they're going to show it this year by packing out Walton Arena a ton.
Yeah, and Mike Neighbors' team's loaded with 5 stars. You got the Fall World Series coming up for Dave Van Horn, so it's hard to be focused on just football right now.
Yeah, you think it would be hard to top the 9 regular season SEC titles and 10 when you add baseball's tournament. But the teams, in my view, are in position to achieve the same type of heights.
Tom, we really appreciate your time, man. Good to on what Arkansas has in front of themselves in Ole Miss and Oxford this weekend, and we'll discuss and recap it on Monday.
Yeah, man. Everybody have a great weekend. See you.
All right, Tom Murphy with us every Monday and Thursday. We'll be Tom on Monday to break down what happened over the weekend with the Razorbacks.
We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything football. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of these amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.